What is happening, guys? Thank you for tuning into the very first episode of the Fresh Hope for a Better You podcast. I am your host, Oliver Goulet, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in. For the first podcast, you guys are going to have to bear with me. So basically, I'm going to go over, the purpose of the podcast, what I want you guys to take away from it, and just sharing my story so you guys can connect with me on a deeper level and understand why I do the things that I do and why I, share so much on social media and what I'm trying to accomplish during this journey we call life. So diving in, the goal and purpose of this podcast is hopefully to help inspire as many people as I possibly can into becoming the best version of themselves. Something that a mentor of mine, Andy Frisella, talks about is personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. And that is something I live by. It has helped me out a tremendous amount throughout my journey over the past 5 years of self-development. And I hope to share my story and inspire you guys to become something great, because I used to be not a very good person. I used to have a lot of problems, which I will dive into with going into my story. So we'll start from the beginning. I was not supposed to be born technically. I'm a miracle child. I'm the youngest of 6. I have 5 siblings, 1 half biological, my oldest sister, and 4 adopted siblings. So after my sister was born, her father was not a part of her life. My father came in, married my mom, adopted my sister. And they were not supposed to have kids, or my mom wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. So they ended up doing foster care. They did foster care for over 15 years. My parents are absolute angels. I am so grateful to have my parents. They've helped me out with every part of my life I could ever ask for, and then some. So I'm just straight grateful for my family. Not only just my parents, my siblings and stuff, even though, 4 of my siblings are adopted. I love them like no other. That is my family. I look at them no differently. So I'm basically a miracle child. So the way I look at it is, I have an obligation here on earth during my life's journey is to, make a difference in the world. I want to be the change in the world that I want to see. My mantra is be the change. Some people may think it's cliche, like, oh, be the change, but it is the truth. If you want to see a change in the world, it starts with you. You can't just change the world by, telling other people like what to do. That doesn't work. You have to become the change you want to see. And that's something I live by. I say it to myself multiple times a day, whether it's, there's something I don't want to do. And it's like, all right, dude, well, guess what? In order to get here, you have to do this. So do it. You want to be the change? Do it. And so that's what helps push me through my day-to-day basis with being an entrepreneur. I don't have a boss. I have no one I have to respond to. Yes, I have coaches and mentors and stuff, and they lead me in the right direction. But if I don't have to do something, or if I don't want to do something, I don't have to do anything. But I want to do that. I want to do things. I want to make a difference in the world, and that is why I'm doing this podcast. So basically, from an early adolescence, I was extremely overweight. I got bullied throughout my whole childhood, and it didn't stop just when I was younger. It led into high school because I was overweight. I was an athlete, but at the same time, I wasn't very athletic. I was good at sports, but that's just because I was a lot bigger than kids, and I could move some weight around, so I could definitely use my body to my advantage. But after high school, I went to Hope College, which is a private liberal arts school in Holland, Michigan. I was born and raised in Holland, Michigan, growing up here my whole life. I still live in Holland. I bought a house here a couple years ago. I went to Hope College. At the end of my freshman year, I got in a little confrontation with my roommate, which led to me basically almost getting expelled, and it kind of ruined the end of my freshman year. And I had to we got into an altercation where he ended up hitting me, I hit him. Ended up getting woken up to the police at 4 a.m, saying I was under arrest for assault and battery. Almost got resisting arrest because I was like, you're not putting freaking handcuffs on me. I did nothing wrong. He hit me first. There was a witness here. Go talk to the witness. Long story short, I ended up fighting with the president and dean of Hope College for a little over 3 months till basically the end of my freshman year. Caused a lot of anxiety, stress, depression in my life, which when I was depressed and stuff like that, what did I do? I ate. And I ate myself into putting 50 pounds on. I was already overweight, so by the end of my freshman year, I weighed 270 whopping pounds. Yeah, it was not good. And kind of all summer long, I thought about like, is it worth it to go back to college? And, I had all these outside influences, like even before I went to college, telling me what I should and shouldn't do. And, I listened to them because when I was a kid, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, I went to school because I wanted to play sports in college. That was simply it. Like, I had no idea. I heard someone talk about engineering and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I kind of liked, quads and dirt bikes and motor vehicles. I was like, maybe I could do something with engineering. Went into school with engineering. Bad decision. Do not like math enough. Like, I like money math, yes, which led me to, changing majors in my second semester of college. I went for accounting. Then I realized I was like, yeah, I don't want to sit behind a desk the rest of my life. And then after after all that stuff went down, I went back to Hope College for another semester. I ended up changing my major to business and entrepreneurship, and I thought that was where I wanted to go. I was like, owning a business sounds pretty tight. Like that seems like something I'd want to do. And then after like going to Hope, I was like, man, I'm not even living at school. I lived at home and commuted to school every day, and I was like, yeah, I just really don't like to kind of ruin my whole college experience, just all the bullshit I had to deal with, which, being, 19 years old and, having every professor look at you differently because not only I went through a bunch of stuff with, my roommate, his mother actually worked at the school. So that just made it a hell of a lot harder for me. And, I just screwed that all up. And after my halfway through the year, I transferred to CC because I was like, I don't even know what I want to do with my life. And going back to, after I actually had to go to court and beat an assault case, and to pay for that, my family, we did not have money. We were middle class, and it was my responsibility. Like, I took out student loans and stuff to go to school. My parents helped me where they could. But, my parents middle class, like, they did absolutely everything they could financially to help me, which I greatly appreciated. I would not have been able to even do half the things I was able to without that. So I had to come up with, I think it was like $1,500 to pay my attorney fees for the case that I had beat in court. And at the time, I worked at a factory. And I worked 20 hours a week, and I got paid $10 an hour. Yeah, $20 or 20 hours a week at $10 an hour wasn't cutting it. So I had to find an alternative source of funds or alternative source to make money. And I've always kind of had an entrepreneurship mindset. I grew up selling blueberries. We had a little half acre. I'd pick blueberries, sell them. I was the kid that was always buying candy bars wholesale at, Sam's Club, bringing them to school, selling them out of my backpack, selling gum, doing all that. I was a hustler growing up. There's no way around that. That's just who I was. And I always had to make money. I always ended up having money because I knew how to get money. And basically to come up with that money, one thing I was very interested in at the time was getting high, smoking weed. I loved to do that ever since I was 15 years old. When I was just about 16, I started smoking weed. And I had someone I plugged that I used to get weed from. He hooked me up. I bought a couple ounces of weed for money I'd borrowed from my sister at the time. I ended up selling that weed to all the college kids. Hope College is a private liberal arts school. Everyone there, basically all their families have money. Kids have money in their pockets. And I was like, how do I get that money? What do all these kids want? Everyone smokes weed. So I started selling weed. Month later, I had my lawyer fees. I paid my lawyer, and that was the start of my cannabis company right there. I was like, there's something in this weed stuff. So I continued to sell weed. And and then when I switched to GRCC, by that time I'd realized, there's more money and, it's more profitable to grow your own weed and sell it compared to buying it from someone and having to resell it. So I started growing weed. And that was the start of my cannabis company. I started cultivating cannabis. Started in a basement, and then I ended up scaling up into a couple barns in a facility. And now I'm currently 5 years into my cannabis company, and we are working on a recreational processing facility. Back to starting my cannabis company. It was not something I'd really thought about. I thought I was gonna do my whole life. I really didn't know what I was gonna do, but the last thing I thought was gonna be starting a cannabis company. But hey, we're here today. We're still killing it, so that's all that matters, right? So after I dropped out of, I ended up dropping out of community college because I wrote an essay or a research paper, and it was on I did it about cannabis because cannabis was like, it was making me money. I enjoyed it. It was awesome. I wrote a 30-page research paper on cannabis and talking about like the benefits of it compared to pharmaceutical like companies and pills. And pills kill, and that's something I'll talk about a lot in a lot of like later episodes, is like my view on pharmaceutical companies and what it's doing to the people. They want to have returning customers, so why would they ever want to cure your illness? So that's tinfoil hat, but I don't want to get into that right now. So yeah, then I started realizing like, yeah, one thing I loved growing up, like in high school and stuff, I was the party guy. I threw the parties. My parents were cool, and I threw parties. I was known as the party guy. That was the name. Like, I always had parties. I had a lot of people at my parents' house. We all partied. We all drank, smoked weed. We all just straight partied. And yeah, once I started making money through my cannabis company, growing cannabis, is when my partying phase really, really took off. And yeah, it's led me to down some dark paths during my life. I started getting into the EDM music festival and concerts vibe. And yeah, a lot of you guys that know about that, or even if you don't, well, I'll tell you. There's a lot of extracurricular activities that go on during music festivals and stuff, aka drugs. I started doing a lot of drugs, and it developed into like a 3-year addiction where I was doing drugs on the week. Started with just doing drugs on the weekend, on top of smoking cannabis all day, every day. I was doing harder drugs and stuff on the weekend. And then slowly over time, it trickled into the weekdays and then turned into a full-blown addiction. Not only was I addicted to cannabis, I developed a very bad cocaine addiction. And then I started realizing like I was bored, I was just like growing weed, doing all this stuff. So then I started to work out again because I knew I missed like, kind of working out and stuff like that. I missed sports. And so I started to work out, I dropped like 20 pounds, feeling good about myself. I ended up crashing my dirt bike, tearing my labrum, having shoulder surgery, fell into bad habits again with my eating, put all that weight on and then some. And so I ended up going back to around 270 pounds. And then I fell back into an even harder addiction. I actually ended up doing cocaine every day for about 6 months straight. Not only is it a terrible addiction for your body, it's bad for your body, but also your mind. It fucked with my head so bad, like paranoia, anxiety, like it was some dark, dark times. And yeah, that goes into like another part where with me being in the cannabis industry, they have something called the Cannabis Cup, and they do it I think it was every year in Detroit. And I was over there with a couple buddies of mine. And yeah, I basically, I was going out there, networking, talking to a bunch of other cannabis companies and stuff like that. Like, I was just in the beginning of mine, and I was just a grower, but there were some like well-established brands out there that, I'd get products from and stuff like that. So I brought a bunch of cash with me. And, the cannabis market, everything has to do with cash because banks don't really allow it. Now they do. Nowadays, it's getting better with more bankings allowing cannabis. But at the time, it was all cash. So I brought a bunch of cash out. I brought about $10,000, and I brought 7 in. And I had a couple buddies of mine. I split it up between me and my couple buddies because I didn't want to be carrying, $7,000 in me. We're in Detroit downtown. Like, it's hustler city. Like, someone thinks you got money, they're going to rob you. My dumbass left $3,000 cash in the car, and we parked somewhere where the security guy's like, oh, you're good to park here. And yeah, after, we waited in line for 2.5 hours in the beating sun while I was on cocaine. I was doing cocaine at the time still. And we're waiting in line, and yeah, waited in line for 2 hours, went inside. Wasn't that great of an event. Went to leave, go to the car, back window smashed. Someone broke into our car. Someone robbed me $3,000. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I ended up finding a girl's purse actually in the back seat of the car, that my buddy's car, and it had her like full name on it, had her full name on some mail that was in her purse. And so I got her Facebook and I messaged her. I was like, "You robbed me. You left something here, idiot." And yeah, we talked to the cops, and the cops really didn't give a shit. They're like, well, how much money did you leave in your car? Yeah, you're an idiot, basically, is what they told me. Like, you're never going to get none of that back. And yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow. But then later that night, that girl messaged me back and she sent me a video of she was with some friends and they had a Hellcat, and their window was also smashed, and they actually had a gun stolen and a bunch of other stuff. But then, so I was just like, okay, so you didn't rob me, but why was your purse in there? And at the time, from the paranoia from the cocaine, like I was super like, no, I was like, this girl definitely robbed me. She's just playing it off all nonchalant, like, so I think she just messed up when she was ruffling through the car, like she just left her purse. But yeah, at the time I had a girlfriend, and we'd been dating for about 3 years, and yeah, we were on a rough patch because of my drug addiction and stuff like that. And like, I own up to it, extreme ownership right here. This is 100% my fault. This girl was an angel to my life. Yes, we had our disagreements, but she pointed out all the problems that I needed to face, and I wasn't willing to face them. So what I did at the time is, I left her. And then I was laying there awake, and like I was trying to talk to this girl. Like, I ended up talking to the girl that I found her purse, like on regular, like every day, like, talking to her, getting to know her. Cause deep down, I was like, I know this girl robbed me. If I can get to know her enough, I can figure out why, or like I can, catch her, she'll admit it, and I'll get her ass. And so basically I ended up like, realizing this. And then like 4 days later, I was like, the paranoia is so bad. I think I should, like, I stopped doing coke and stuff like that. And it made me really realize, like, yeah, this is a problem. And then like after I quit cocaine, the paranoia got like 10 times worse. Like, it went from like, I think this girl, like, I'm pretty sure she robbed me, to this girl robbed me, I have to get her. So the next 4 months I ended up spending like, getting to know this girl, and had her come to my house and stuff like that. And like, I basically built a relationship with this girl, basically with the idea in mind that I was going to get her to admit to robbing me. So for 4 months, I was like basically just, running around trying to figure out who robbed me, even though like having her trying to help me, even though deep down I was like, I know this girl robbed me. And truthfully, the girl never robbed me. It just simply it was all the anxiety and, the crazy shit going on in my head, making me believe these thoughts. Like, I think them so much that I started to believe them, which really led me down a path of like a dark rabbit hole. And, I can be thankful that happened, because that's when I quit doing cocaine. And that really helped me along my journey, was, putting that beside me. Um, and, yeah, so after that, yeah, basically spent 4 months doing that. And then I realized, like, yeah, this isn't it. Like, I don't care. Whatever, it is what it is. Still hanging around with the girl. Didn't really necessarily think that deep down that she robbed me. And all of a sudden, we were all hanging out in my room at my parents' house, and I had a grow in the barn outside that I had just gotten done like redoing during my shoulder surgery. Because all this happened like right like when I was after I crashed my dirt bike, had shoulder surgery and stuff like that. And I just like finished remodeling that with one arm, this whole grow facility. And we were sitting upstairs in my room, and all of a sudden I smelled something burning. And I was like, that does not smell right. It smells like, electrical, like some wire, plastic, something burning. So I look around my room, don't see anything. I go downstairs, I smell it. I'm like yelling for my mom and dad, like, hey, do you smell that? Like, something's on fire. And then my mom comes out, and then I look outside, and I just see smoke rolling out of my barn that I just got done redoing. And I didn't know where my dad was. I ran out there, and deep down, I really thought my dad was in that barn, because my mom thought he was too. And I busted open the door, which actually fed the flames in the barn oxygen, and it blew up in my face. I singed a bunch of hairs off my face. And at the time, I was still going through like all this stuff, thinking that someone robbed me, like someone's trying to get me, like from the paranoia from the cocaine. And yeah, it just really put me in a dark place for like, 10 seconds after I busted open that door. I thought my dad was in there. I thought I lost my father. And all this is happening like within the course of a month. This all happened. And yeah, it just got worse and worse. And then finally the paranoia after quitting coke, like after like 6 months total, it kind of just died down. And then yeah, one, like, the harsh reality was like when I, like, the real reason I quit doing coke was because I was laying in bed one night and I had a vision. And I could see like vividly, like I was at a funeral, and I saw all my family and friends there. Everyone was crying, and especially my mom. I remember my mom's face just bawling, and she wasn't the one that said it, but I heard someone in the distance say it. He was too young to die, and it made me realize that like I was at my own funeral. Like that's what the vision was, and I realized that if I continued the lifestyle I was living, that was my future right there. And so yeah, I'd quit that, and yeah, kind of just realized that that was not the life I wanted to live, and yeah, basically I ended up starting going back to the gym, changed my life a little bit, and yeah, I went down to visit one of my buddies in Fort Wayne, and we went out to a bar. We actually went out to a gay bar. It was not my ideal place. It was kind of fun though. It was a great time. The funny thing is, you go to a gay bar, the chances of you like picking up a girl are very high because all the other dudes are gay, first off, and second off, a lot of girls go there that are straight because they just don't want to deal with all the bullshit at the regular bars. So if you don't want to go out to a regular bar and have to compete with a bunch of other dudes, go to a gay bar. It's like shooting fish in a barrel there. But but yeah, basically I met this girl. She ended up like I got her Instagram, I talked to her for a while, and she kept posting this guy's podcast on her story. And yeah, you guys all know who this podcast is. It's Annie Frisell is Real as Fuck. And she posted that, and I commented, and I was like, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's an entrepreneurship podcast. And so I started listening to it because I was an entrepreneur at the time, but I guess I really wasn't taking business that serious. And at the moment I started listening to Andy's podcast, it sparked a fire in me. I remember after his first podcast, I was like, I don't know who this man is, but dude, I'm going to listen to him a lot more now. Started listening to him. This was roughly like 6 months before my birthday, and so I was listening to him for a few more months, and then I heard him shamelessly plug 75 Hard, this program that seemed to be like life-changing, and I was like, you know what, I think I want to do that. And I deep down I was like, I knew I needed to do that. And so I started I was still working out pretty consistently almost every day at this point. I was like, you know what, I like fitness, makes feels good, all this stuff. And the more I work out, the better like headspace I'm in, the more I'm disciplined with every other area of my life. And I was like, you know what, I just need that extra step. So I decided like 2 months before my birthday that I was going to start 75 Hard. On my birthday, I even posted on Facebook like July 23, 2019, I'm going to start 75 Hard. And at the time, none of my family or friends knew anything about it. And they'd all been proud of me because, I'd changed and really started to take, my cannabis company pretty serious. And like things are starting to look up, make more money, doing all this stuff. And then when I started 75 Hard, everyone's like, oh, you're not going to drink or party with us. And I'm like, why? And I was like, oh, because I'm doing this program. Like, it's a mental toughness and discipline program, and I'm trying to change my life. Amount of family and friends that gave me shit about it was unreal. Like, oh, just have a beer, have this cheat meal, like do this. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay true to this. I'm going to hold myself accountable. And I finished that, I finished 75 Hard, and I lost 35 pounds, and it changed my life. Not only just the weight, just the mindset. The mindset it helped me develop of the undeniability that if I put my mind to something, I can do it. And that was the start of my self-development journey right there, was when I did 75 Hard. My life changed. And I will never not give the credit to that program that it truly deserves, because I owe that program a lot. I mean, I did do it. I followed through with it. I held myself accountable, but that program and Andy Frisella changed my life. And that is why I am so grateful that I am a part of, his company, First Form, and I'm a part of his entrepreneurship, Arte Syndicate now. After I finished 75 Hard, it was I heard him shamelessly plug First Form. He's not one to plug it very much on his podcast, and I heard him and I was like, what is that? And I looked into it, and it was a supplement company. I was like, oh, this is his company, like this is where he makes all his money. And started like liking First Form, and I saw what their values are, and I was like, they have a lot of the same core values as me now that I've started my self-development journey and really trying to make the most out of my life. And I found out about the Legionnaire program and I joined it, or I applied, and I wrote this long thing about how it helped me change my life. And then, ended up getting accepted in the program. I got a call from my coach, Sam, and he basically gave me the rundown on what it was. And my goal was, when I joined the program, was just to, be part of something bigger than myself. And I didn't necessarily think I was going to be a coach or anything, but, just help me along my fitness and nutrition journey and to be a part of something bigger. Like, the culture and community that First Form has is the best on the earth. I will argue that till the day I die, because that group of people that is First Form, I am First Form, are the people that are going to change the world. I put my money on it any day of the week. So fast forwarding, after, being a part of that program for over 2 years, I really didn't take him very seriously. And I don't think I was confident enough within myself and my physical condition and my education point behind like fitness and nutrition, because when I joined the program, I really didn't know much about nutrition at all. I ate chicken and rice and vegetables, basically. Wasn't tracking macros, wasn't doing anything, didn't even know what macros were at the time. All I knew is that, you eat clean food and you limit yourself, you'll be good. And after realizing that and, becoming more confident and educating myself through like their training and stuff like that, I was like, you know what? I got some downtime. I have my operations manager handling my grow facilities and all this stuff. I got some free time. I think I'm, made for a bigger purpose than, just growing cannabis. And that's where it kind of clicked in me. It's like, man, why not? Why not try taking this seriously, man? Look what you've done for yourself. You've lost over 80 pounds. Why not share your journey? Why not share your story with people and help them along their journey in life? And so I started to do that, and at first it started a little slow. And then when I really started putting my all into it and left myself with that zero option mentality, like, this is what I'm going to do on top of my cannabis company. And now that I have the downtime, I can dedicate this time to this. And over the past 5 months, I've been able to, start working and coaching to over 30 people with their fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle. And it's truly helped me find more of a purpose in life. And it's helped me really find a passion in it. I love helping people. There's no amount of money that is, more rewarding than helping someone change their life, because I wish I had that someone that was there as the coach for me like that. I mean, I had Andy helping me through the discipline and dedication, but I really didn't take my coaches and stuff seriously at first, and understand that they're like teachers. The coach is like a teacher. When you're growing up, you have teachers, and most teachers want what's best for you. Even though when you're a kid, you don't want to listen to that. You think you know it all. And most kids still think they know it all and they don't want to listen to teachers. But looking back, I can't think of one teacher that did not have my best interest out in me. Thinking back, I wish I would have taken school more seriously. I wish I would have listened to those guys. And it just really, put things into perspective. You can't make it through life alone. And having coaches and mentors and stuff is truly how you're able to grow to becoming something truly great and helping you reach your full potential, because, you can learn from some great people from experiences that they've already been through. And it's been one of the greatest things I've ever learned. I have multiple coaches. I have a business coach. I have a nutrition and fitness coach. I have, my mentors and stuff. I'm part of Arte Syndicate, which is the best group of entrepreneurs on the face of the earth. We are not just about making millions of dollars. We are about changing the world. Basically everything Andy's a part of. He's trying to change the world and make it a better place. And that is why that man, he has a special place in my heart, because he's helped me change my life, and he's helped millions of others change their life, through his podcast and through the 75 Hard program. So I will, give credit where it's due. And most of the credit to my life is due to Andy Frisella and First Form, because those people have helped me change my life. And that is why I'm here today, telling my story, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here to share my story and hopefully help inspire you guys to become something great. So that's basically, the rundown of who I am, why I'm here, and my goal. My goal is to help millions of people along this journey we call life. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is by continuing to, pursue personal excellence within myself and being the change I want to see in the world. So I just want to say thank you guys for taking time out of your day to listen to my story, and hopefully it helped you and inspired you and made you realize that you can overcome any obstacle or adversity you've been through or you're going through in your life, and you can become something great. It's never too late to change your life. And I'm literally a walking example of that. If I can go from an overweight drug addict to someone that, grown adults look up to and ask for advice, then you can too. So thanks again for tuning in to the first episode of the Fresh Hope for a Better You podcast. My name is Oliver Goulet, and I will talk to you guys next week.